It's there! Holy moly, this one's gonna go big!
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, I wouldn't normally do this sort of thing because what we have in front of us here is a very old machine, the likes of which I don't really have much time for in the main. However, there was something about this release that just caught my eye. I was going through my periodic updating of my Fruit Machine emulation collection just over the weekend, collating all the latest releases, unzipping them and putting them into my various Fruit Machine emulation folders, where my hope is that I will at some point get around to playing them. And that's once I've played a machine and I like a machine and I like the layout, that's when a video will usually come out of that for the channel. And that's kind of my way of saying thanks to the layout creator for that machine, is when I go and make a video about it for the channel. And this kind of thing here, I've got to be honest with you, would not normally get a look in, because this is an ancient System 80 machine, which is a tech that JPM used in the very early 1980s. However, as I was unzipping this file and putting it into the correct folder in my Fruit Machine emulation collection, there was just a couple of things that were in there that really caught my eye, to the extent that I thought, you know what, I'm going to load this thing up and have a go. So what was in here, let me just bring this up for you. This is what was in the actual zip file. There's a readme.txt, which isn't that unusual, and I will sometimes have a look at those. But the other thing that was in here was the Nudge Shuffle personality package PDF. So when I saw that file, I thought, well, I'm going to have a look and see what that's all about. And look at this, it's an ancient flyer for the machine itself. So here we go, and this is a real flyer, and look at the date. Can you see down there at the bottom right hand side, from 1981? This thing is nearly 40 years old. So for the Nudge Shuffle personality package from JPM, just a telephone number on there. There was no email or shit, like there was no fax machines back then, so you've literally just got a telephone number to ring. And this was the promotional material that JPM put out for this machine. That's as sexy as they could make the bloody thing look, is that picture there. And then we have all the technical details about it. This is an old System 80 tech machine. And for such a basic machine, it's got a fairly in-depth description of everything about it. We even have descriptions of how to position the reel bands, along with how to use the engineer's test box. So this is obviously operator focused rather than just basic promotional material. This is obviously operator focused. You've got all of this stuff in here. And we have details of the test procedure as well. So that to me was just a fascinating old document to look through, that to see this, that someone's clearly scanned in, and then nearly 40 years later we can finally have a look at it. And there was a really nice little readme file in there, so my curiosity had been piqued, so I fired up the readme.txt, and we've got a lovely little readme file in here saying, welcome to my second layout. This was my favourite JPM in 1982, and it used to take most of my gyro money every 2 weeks at my local arcade called the Mint. We've got all of our shortcuts in there. It says, I hope you get many, many hours of enjoyment of this absolute classic game. We may have to beg to differ on that one, I'm afraid. Have fun, guys. Andy Butler, aka Frig. And some acknowledgements in there. This layout has been entirely redrawn from scratch using an old flyer, thanks to Ploggy, a few low-res YouTube videos, thanks to Chris217, and some useful pics off Tommy C on Dad's forum. These help me decipher some of the text and check some colours, and also thanks to Vectra666 for his input. Big thanks going out to Dad for posting the ROMs and for testing everything and making me redo the lamps. And lastly, as always, a massive thank you to Wizard for making all of our fruity dreams come true. And I would certainly agree with that last part. Now, the thing is here that it doesn't matter if you're into this or not, and this is kind of the point of this video. The thing with emulation is I think it's a really personal thing. It's about what you remember playing, and what Andy is saying here, that he's got vivid memories of playing this machine back in 1982. So for him, this is kind of what Fruit Machine emulation is all about. They're machines that he has memories of. Now, I've said before that I did not start playing until the back end of 1990 into 1991. So I have no recollection of any of these things. I never played them. And whilst there were still some hangers-on when I first, certainly in some of the, how can I put it, lower class arcades that I used to frequent, there were some of these older tech machines that were still hanging on to a kind of spot on the site, as it were, even in sort of 1990 and 1991, although they were being very much phased out at that point. But I never liked them. If you think about the machines that were available in 1990, 1991, and as someone who, like me, who first played those machines, these things wouldn't really have any interest to you. Certainly, I hated them. I would occasionally put a bit of money in them and think, why the fuck I even bothered? However, the fact remains that I can appreciate what this is, which is a real slice of history here. And Andy has done a fantastic job, a full redraw from various sources. And it fills up a 4K screen quite nicely here. I'm just recording in a 1080p Bandicam window. But if you can get this thing stretched out onto a 4K screen, everything about it is crystal clear and super sharp. And he's done a great job of doing this full redraw. And you know what? I actually ended up playing it for a little while. Not very long, I'll be the first to admit. About 10 minutes was about the most I could manage, and I'd had enough. But enough to make me want to get a couple of jackpots out of it. So let's have a go and see what Fruit Machines were like back in 1981. So what we're going to do, it's 10p a go. Now that must have been, I think that must have been a pretty spicy steak for 1981. Bearing in mind that our jackpot is £2. And that's £2 in tokens. Your big cash win there is a quid, which of course is 10 times stake. Your options for putting money in, you can put a 10p piece in, you can put a 10p token in, so obviously your token wins are being paid out in 10p tokens, or if you put a 50p in, if you're a big spender, you get 1 credit and 4 10p pieces in change. I do have very, very vague memories of these machines still being around, like I say, in some of the lower end arcades, and that was how they worked. If you put a higher denomination coin in, you just got most of it back in change. So let's have a go. Let's see if we can get a jackpot here. Now, what has to happen? There's basically two things going on. You can get a win that just lands on the reels here. All the 2 of a kinds pay 20p. Then you've got your various 3 and 4 of a kinds, and then you've got the nudge feature, and you've got to get 5 numbers. Oh, we nearly did it there. You've got to get 5 numbers on the reels in a single spin. There doesn't seem to be any kind of hold or anything like that. You've got to get 5 or more on the reels in a single spin, and then you go into the big nudge feature. Now, the thing that I do like about this is that all wins can be gambled on this double or nothing thing. So you can basically gamble all wins up to the jackpot of £2 or £1.60 over on the left hand. That was a really bad pound, wasn't it? I just put a pound in and get a fucking penny. Let's put another pound in. Well, we're going to go absolutely crackers here and put another pound in. Let's see how we do. I did take 2 or 3 jackpots out of it before when I was playing it, so it's obviously, there we are now, we've got the big double or nothing gamble. So listen to these fucking sounds, honestly. I mean, I'm a big fan of sounds on Fruit Machines, and this thing hasn't got them. Double, 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 let's try and double again. Oh, right, and now we are on a jackpot gamble. It's a big jackpot gamble, come on. Fuck. We lost our £1. And that would have been, I mean, I know we mock now, but I bet that was a pretty big gamble back in the day there. Come on. Oh, nothing again. Let's at least get on to the nudge feature. So I've got to be honest, having played this machine for the first time the other day when I loaded it up, because my curiosity was piqued by that PDF and that readme file. I would have probably never played it again. But then I thought, you know what? I think it's worth giving a little shout out to things like this, which even now, I mean, Fruit Machine emulation now has been around for 18 years, but we still have labours of love like this. And Andy there giving all of those acknowledgements to the people who helped him make what for him is a little bit of a Fruit Machine emulation dream, and I think that's really great to see. So even though this is not a machine that for me personally I have any connection to, and frankly after I've finished making this video I will almost certainly never play it again, but I can 100% understand what it represents to the people who do have memories of this, and for what it does have a kind of emotional connection for them. And for me, that is what Fruit Machine emulation, as much as anything, has always been about and still is about. It's the way it makes us feel when we play these machines that we remember playing so many years ago. Now I'm fancying my chances here for getting a fucking one on one of these other two reels. It's dicked me on that, but I've got three. Right, come on. Oh, I'm going up the left hand side, so I can only get £1.60. This is not a jackpot. I've lost again. Right. Okay, we will keep this going for a minute. Oh, it's a whole after nudges. I guess you would, but I don't want to go up the left hand side there for this crappy one. I'm going to get the nudge feature. I'm going to play for the nudge feature here. Because as primitive as this machine is, I don't know if you, in fact, let's just go back to the snip there. Look at the ROMs. You've got 6 1 kilobyte ROMs. This whole thing was done in 6 kilobytes. That is a tiny, tiny amount of storage space that they had to write the code for a compensated Fruit Machine into. That also has, I mean, it does have holds, it has a feature, it has gambles, all that kind of thing. I guess the whoever wrote this had to be very, very efficient with. Right, we've got the. That's about £4 just to get the nudge feature, isn't it? So, hang on a minute. What have we got now? Gamble. So shuffle feature or bonus feature. What happens if I gamble? Oh dear, what did I? Oh, I see. Right, now I have got that. I can. Right, I see. Or I can exchange over to the shuffle feature. I didn't actually clock onto that before. Oh, we're in again. It's gone absolutely. It's absolutely off its tits here. So let's try and gamble up these nudges then. There we are. So I've got 2 nudges, and now I've got no nudges. Oh yeah, and I should have, RTFM. I see. What I can use, I can do a shuffle. A shuffle takes a nudge off me, but respins the reels. That makes sense. So, oh dear, this is absolutely taking me for a ride here, isn't it? So I can either just gamble my nudges on the bonus feature, or I can use some shuffles to try and improve the position of the reels. There's not a £5 off me now. This is £6 in, which I know doesn't sound particularly serious, but transport yourself back to 1981. I'm guessing £6 was quite a lot of money. So let's gamble some nudges to start with. I mean, we can cheat here. Of course, back in the day, you would need to. Oh, I don't think we've got melons in there. So I can do a shuffle now. Let's do a shuffle. Can I not? I can shuffle again. So, oh, but I can't gamble anymore. Once you've shuffled, you can't gamble. I've fucked myself there. Right, I see. Okay. So what you need to do? There's probably, I bet, there's a fair bit of tactics to actually playing this machine, and I'll bet the guys back in the day knew all the setups on this and knew exactly what to do. There, look at that. That's a challenging. So I've definitely got. I don't even need to gamble there. I don't think so. I have got. Let's just nudge. There are 1 gamble for the jackpot. Come on. Whoa! And there is your big jackpot jingle. So, the best will in the world, I think that will about do for me. This will not be one that, if I'm entirely honest, I'll probably never load this up again. But, and this is the point, I am glad it exists. I am really, really glad that Andy here has had the chance to make this machine, that he's had the help that he has, and that a little bit of that Fruit Machine history now is preserved, because not everything is going to mean something to everyone. So whilst I have no personal connection with this, I am super glad that it exists, and that in the here and now in 2019 we can still get this wonderful community effort to make little bits of history not only come back to life, but is now preserved, because this is now preserved, whereas before, without fruit machine emulation, without the efforts that go into making these layouts and sourcing the resources, and of course Wizard himself still developing the emulator, these things would be completely lost to the sands of time. And even if you don't particularly like some of these machines, as I don't, this older stuff, it's important that these recreations, these emulations of these machines exist. And for that reason, I thought I'd just make a short video about it for the channel. If you want to have a go for yourself, it's available over at Desert Island Fruits and Fruit Emu. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will catch up with you next time. But for now, it is goodbye.